And here is the big news, okay? We are not alone. We represent 21% of the global economy. The BRIC nations, Brazil, Russia, India, China, they now represent more than we do, 22% of the global economy. So while our fiscal policy may be kind of leaning left or looking for direction, the rest of the world is adopting our playbook from the 80s and moving right. Here is the big news, okay? This is the rise in global living standards. Let's just take that 22% of the global economy, the BRIC nations. They account for 41% of the global population. Here is their standard of living, basically, and their change in GDP per capita. And so you can see as they've adopted pro-growth, liberalized economic policies, they've unlocked a lot of growth. And they're getting more affluent, but they're not even close to where they could be. The BRIC weighted average for living standards is about 15% of ours. Okay? So we generate about $46,000 in GDP per capita, and they average out somewhere between $7,000 to $10,000 in GDP per capita. And they know what your living standards are, right? I mean, if you saw it the other day, GM just added a new plant, hired 1,000 people. You know where they did it? India, because that's where the appetite is. And so they're coming. Here's the big news too, is that this is accelerating the GDP growth rate on the planet. And this is the economic sonic boom that I'm most excited about. Because as these per capita GDP rates increase, as the globe gains more economic freedom, it just feeds on itself. It's a virtuous cycle. Suddenly you can have entrepreneurial thoughts and you can raise money and you can build businesses and you can do it with property rights, and all of that just breeds upon itself. And so let's walk through what could possibly be the economic potential on the planet exercise. U.S. is 5% of the population. We are 21% of the economy, as I've shown you. The economy is $70 trillion across the planet. Let's take the U.S. standard of living at 46,000 and multiply it by the 6.8 billion people on the planet who aspire to enjoy our lifestyle. If you do that, you get an theoretical economic size of about 300 billion. That's 428% larger than the economy is today. That's the good news. That's the big news. So while we may be getting wrapped around the axle, and again, I kind of choose these topics trying to figure out what the clients are most anxious about, we may be getting wrapped around the axle about policies here in the U.S., but the truth of the matter is this train has left the station. This is not the end of the global economic boom. This is likely the beginning of the global economic boom. Now, I cannot tell you that this is going to be stress-free. There's going to be a great deal of volatility. We are all more interrelated than we've ever been before. The other thing I will tell you is that as an investment advisor, it requires a whole lot of time and attention because the butterfly effect now is more so than it's ever been before. Greece represents 0.2% of the world economy, and it's held the U.S. stock market hostage for the last month and a half. And so things are really macro, things are really geopolitical, and all of this research bleeds into how we come up with our investment strategies. And so just to make the point, this was the lead chart in the Wall Street Journal this morning, which wasn't real easy to get. But what I can show you on this chart is the red line, which is the U.S. share of global consumer spending, versus the blue line, which is the emerging market share of global consumer spending. And so that is the big news. In conclusion, I will say that it is a tremendous honor to be selected to be the steward of your financial assets. It is a responsibility that I can't even explain to you how meaningful it is to me and to everybody at W&A to take on. I know that your assets are the fruit of your life's hard work, and so we are compelled to rise to that occasion by making sure we're working as hard as we can for you. So I'm extremely grateful for the relationship that we have together, and I will conclude by taking a few questions.